I'm going to talk about the Six Forks Road widening project and just some of my views on that. But first of all, I want to talk about the Midtown CAC meeting I went to last Monday night, where actually that project was discussed amongst, along with other things. First of all, for those of you who don't know what a CAC meeting is, it's a Citizen Advisory Council. And we used to have those sponsored by the city at one time. There were a number of them around different sections of Raleigh. The city council disbanded them, basically because they didn't really want to hear from them. There were a lot of pushback on some of the ways that the city was doing business, and they just decided to disband them. Not the city council that's elected now, but the previous city council. I think that may be one of the reasons why some seats changed, that the CACs were taken out. But Midtown has kept their CAC going and funded it themselves. I think that the current city council is circling back around on that, and I think that's a good thing. The newly elected people, I think, are basically pro CAC, and hopefully, I'd like to see if they can get the votes to get the city to start sponsoring these again. And by sponsoring, it doesn't really take that much money. These places just need a place to be able to meet and some costs to cover getting the word out to folks in the community. So Larry Halfont runs the Midtown CAC. He's done a great job with it. I was at the meeting. I'd say there was about 20 people in there, and then it was hybrid. And there were a couple of city councilors that were coming in on the hybrid, and I was there in person. And it was a great opportunity to really get caught up on what the city's doing that affects Midtown in North Raleigh. One of the first people to talk was Officer Winkle with the Raleigh Police Department, and I'd like to call them Raleigh's finest. And I think everyone pretty much knows that crime is up right now. There's probably really a lot of reasons for that. Part of it, I think we're still coming out of COVID, and I've got a video up where I talk about crime and what's going on in Raleigh with that, in what I believe is happening. I think it sort of goes back to when we had the riots back during COVID. That sort of just, opened the door up, and it's been getting worse ever since. But I'm not going to get into that now. But Officer Winkle came in, gave a report. I think there's a lot of car break-ins, and of course we had that big string of 5 businesses being broke into in North Raleigh here recently. The water department report was given by Matt Cotton. That was interesting because they're going in and replacing out some of the sewer system there in the Midtown area there. TJ McCourt came in and talked about the Greenway and Park projects. That was extremely interesting. There's several projects going on in North Hills that are being put in around that area there, and those are pretty big projects that are going to be good for that area. As an avid Greenway person, I was happy to see that, because I'll go up around that section of Greenway that goes over into Wake Forest Road, and it'll be nice to be able to get up to Midtown there on a Greenway path. So the last thing that really they got into extensively was the Six Forks Road widening project, which I think this has been on slate for about maybe like 9 years. I might not be exactly, but it's been sitting there a long time. And the biggest challenge with the Six Forks Road widening project is that the longer we wait, the more the price goes up. And so we're at a point now where I think we've got maybe just over 50% funding allocated for this project. And so it's been stuck. Suggestion I made in there is, well, why don't we go ahead and build the part that really needs to be done? And that is widening Six Forks between the belt line on up to Millbrook Road, because that's where the real problems are. Now, there's a lot of the things in this project, bike lanes, sidewalk widenings, assorted different items that they'd like to be able to do. And so you got to ask the question at a certain point, are we going to do nothing, or can we get the item that's really the major red flag going here addressed? And that's that we've got to always, for a long time, it has serious traffic problem between Millbrook and the Beltline. If you go north of Millbrook Road on Six Forks, there's not a traffic problem. If you go south of the Beltline on Six Forks, there's not a traffic problem. It's just that section right there in the middle, and everyone knows that you get out there during rush hour or even lunch, that thing is just backed all the way up from North Hills all the way on up, and you got to sit there in a big line of traffic for a pretty lengthy time. So I'd like to see that that they at least go in and take the funding that they have and maybe set this project up in phases and knock out what they got funding for. I don't know why it keeps getting delayed. I saw a city council meeting where back with the previous city council where it got brought up, and it was sort of being pushed, and we're not doing that now. So that's my that's sort of my view on that. I think that was the one thing in there that came up. I do want to compliment what I saw though with the greenways. One of the things I asked about was why are we having so much washed out with the bridges? I think we're learning now with the greenway system from previous mistakes. It's still sort of a new thing. I don't know how far back the greenways have been there, but it's relatively new item. And I'm going to compliment on the city now on the fact that I think they're learning from past mistakes and going in, and as they're redoing sections of the greenway, they're putting in better bridges. They're looking at ways of keeping them from getting washed out. And when there was a washout there underneath the bridge over at Crabtree a few months ago, and I actually hit some mud in there and had a minor accident in there. But that got cleaned up pretty quick. But those are things that need to be, we're always going to want to look at and try to prevent. It's never going to be perfect, but when there is a problem with it, getting it cleaned up quickly would be great. But really, if I look back at this last winter, there were major, there was about 4 sections of the loop around Raleigh that were down. One of them's still down, or maybe 2 of them are still down. And you really just don't have any way of knowing. Maybe there's a place you can go look this up, but you know, if you're out there and you really want to take a serious trip around Raleigh, then you have to wonder, well, is that section up yet? And it's not up. Also, too, I will mention that I thought that the section that was of Crabtree that's going on up to Umstead Park, I thought that was supposed to be finished a year ago last fall. And it may be that putting in some bridges that project was expanded, and but they're still working on that, and it'd be nice to see that finally completed. So that's all I've got. This is Whitney for Raleigh, Whitney Hill, and those are some of my views on what I saw in the Midtown CAC. I think Larry Halfont's doing a great job in there. I'd like to see CACs across the city and some people rise up on it. Unfortunately, because they got disbanded, you just don't, it takes time to get these things organized and get people to do them. And I'd like to see that happen again with these CACs and people step up to the plate. Thanks for watching this video. If you would hit the subscribe button if you like to see what more of these videos, and please let me know your views in the comments. I try to get back on those and respond to them. It's Whitney for Raleigh, and thank you for watching this video.